on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit.
What is going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. That is right. We are back again here on the Sports Card Radio program. We are joined, as always, by a fired up chat this week. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. We'll certainly get to the topics at hand, but we're also joined this week by super producer Tim in the background. And we are joined by none other than Ryan, who I'm as glad to be here, considering he has been following the news, views, and gossip that has been dropping all week. We had some major stories cross the ticker this week. Ryan, why don't you clue the chat in on what we were going to be talking about this week on our Thursday night live?
Big time program. Like you said, I see the chat is already fired up here on a Thursday night. That's right. We took last week off. The Lakers are done floundering around to the Denver Nuggets. Congratulations to them. Actually, they got a really nice team, and the Lakers are out of the playoffs. So expect to see us maybe more routinely on these Thursday nights. But whoever you're rooting for, thank you for joining us tonight on Sports Card Radio. We have a very, very, very special program. That is right. A company, going back on the pantheon of 15 years covering the hobby. This is a company, PWCC, that we have talked about quite extensively, especially from 2019 on, as they were featured heavily in some of our now legendary 2 to 4 hour podcasts about the card trimming scandal of 2019 that featured none other than company owner Brent Higgins and his kind of buyers group, his kind of ringleaders, people like Jesse Craig, people like Gary Moser, people like Robert Block, on and on and on and on, as these people were not only conducting card trimming, not only were these guys over at PWCC very, very much involved in card trimming, as most people in the hobby know, a couple years ago, eBay kicked PWCC off their selling platform, and really kind of an unprecedented move for a seller that size. Kicked them off the eBay platform for shill bidding. Well, news broke. Just a few days ago, this video about 3 days ago from our boy AIH Sports, PWCC getting sold. And in the video, it pretty much lays out the possibilities of what actually happened within the next probably 24 to 48 hours after this video got posted. It was announced on Twitter that PWCC sold to Fanatics. So we will get into that, I'm sure, on today's show, dive into all the topics and see where this leaves the sports card marketplace. What position does this put Fanatics in? The competitors to PWCC, the competitors to Fanatics, what position does this put them in? So a very, very interesting move. And of course, we could get into all the dynamics about some of the people that used to work at PWCC, why PWCC was forced to sell. Colin, I don't know if you know this, but PWCC was handing out loans for sports cards. And I don't know if you could see this, but this person on this screen, this is actually a PWCC video. Person on this screen is like literally a 15-year-old kid that they loaned $80,000 to buy a John Morant, Zion Williamson logo man card.
Legally, he can default on that loan. Anybody under the age of 18 that gets in any type of credit situation can legally default on that loan. This is why you don't give credit cards without a parental signature. My guess is this guy's dad had to sign off on it, but if he didn't, this young man could legally not pay that loan back. It is illegal to give loans to minors. This is why minors can't buy houses on a mortgage. At least if they had the cash, they probably could buy it, but you can't any written contract with anyone under the age of 18 is null and void without the parental.
That's very good to know. I'm sure Fanatics is now actually going through the books here and just to see which loans were written to the under 18 crowd. This kid got an $80,000 loan. He's 15 years old. He bought a Zion and Jock card, quite literally. I mean, you could go watch this video if you want to. It was posted a year ago. And like you said, a lot of people probably defaulted on these loans, whether they were under 18 or whether they were over 18. A lot of these loans got defaulted on. PWCC has taken possession of a large percentage of these cards and have started to probably auction them off. There's probably a big, maybe not a big, but quite a few that are still left in the PWCC vault that now belong to Fanatics. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with some of the cards that were on loan that were defaulted on. But apparently, much like we've seen in the course of history, it appears that some of these loans and the problems with the loans being defaulted on, that was one thing, and perhaps the big thing that led to PWCC having to sell to Fanatics. And if you believe hobby hero, the legend himself, Jeff Wilson, I believe he said today that PWCC sold for pennies on the dollar to Fanatics. So certainly pennies on the dollar for what they could have got for the company just a couple short years ago in the sports card boom. So terrible mismanagement of this company in the last couple years, probably most notably by Brent Higgins, probably most notably by some other people. But the decision, whoever's decision it was to loan out any kind of money to 15, 16-year-old kids and letting them buy Ja Morant and Zion Williamson cards. Absolutely horrible decision. As of right now, we know I believe we broke the news just a few short weeks ago that PWCC laid off 30% of their workforce. I would highly encourage Fanatics to go through the company and whoever's decision it was to loan out money to 15-year-old kids so they could buy ultra modern sports cards. I would hand them the termination papers promptly. So that is, obviously a huge story in the sports card world. Speaking of card loans, Investicard, I think he's more famous on Instagram than anywhere else. He goes, "We're live," and he kind of is at card shows. Well, he used to rent this 13,000 square foot office space that I believe had a vault in it as well. But if you search property, and I'm no Sunset selling Sunset realtor, but if you do a property search, you can find that the building previously owned by Investicard, who would give out loans for sports cards, is now available for rent. So is the loan for card business absolutely crumbling before our very eyes. Besides that, obviously we're bidding on some stuff. Look at this, getting another $83 for 2008 press pass box. These do have one autograph card per box. So shame on all the people when I bought these for $2.71 that thought I was getting a bad deal. Hey, you do get one autograph per box, and it might be Westbrook, Love, or Derrick Rose, but probably not. So we're bidding on a wide variety of things. We're not bidding on this Colton Cowser, but I'm his personal hype man, so I'm bringing that up in front of the program. We do have a GoFundMe for the writer of the song that you hear in the beginning of the show, the real B-side, "Ruin the Hobby I Love." Guys, he needs a new wheelchair ramp. He's got quite a bit of money so far, $2,700. What we're going to do on this program, every single super chat dollar, we are going to donate to his GoFundMe. So we will add that up at the end of the show and be piling in a donation. If you would like to donate yourself, there is a GoFundMe set up. Again, this is the writer and the creator of one of the greatest songs of all time. That's not written by Pearl Jam, quite frankly. So that's what we have on the docket. We are dripped out in gear. Top Shelf Sports Cards in Elgin, Illinois sent us a package of t-shirts. Expect to see those on some of these videos because my limited wardrobe just got an upgrade. Colin, I know you're dripped out in some gear that we got from somebody at a card show.
Top grade only. This is
top grade only, baby.
A card company.
All you have to do is give us some t-shirts, and you could get your business shouted out on Sports Card Radio. We got, I don't know, I haven't ran a sale a little bit in check on my cards, so we got a little bit of money in check on my cards. Maybe we could blow, but I figure we start things off. I wanted to give you the floor and hear your reaction to PWCC being sold. I think I came up to you on Sunday of the card show, and I think I mentioned that, hey, here's the hot rumor. And I think 1 or 2 days later, the rumor comes true, as AIH Sports laid out in his video 3 days ago. So what do you think about this whole PWCC Fanatics thing?
I mean, yeah, it's easily the least surprised I've been in months or weeks, if you will. I tell you what, it's not surprising considering the history, considering the people that have worked there. And a lot of collectors that, again, just got back into collecting when Jeff Wilson got his second PPP loan, and we're telling you guys to buy cards at the top. Some of you are just getting to know Brent, Betsy, Jesse Craig. You guys are just getting to know these people. But like Ryan said, we were doing podcasts on these people that we've now had to put behind a paywall. Look, these were a bunch of shady people. These were not people that we would want to do business with on a regular basis. This is not an auction house that was likely to survive, honestly. And so it comes to no surprise that they essentially needed to be bailed out of the hobby by Fanatics. I think it's a great move by Fanatics. They get a website where if they tried to build that website themselves from scratch, probably would be difficult. I'm sure there's some SEO there, although SEO is somewhat less relevant today than it was, say, 10 years ago. And there's certainly some infrastructure there as well. You do have a vault. There is some processes to pick, pack, and ship all of this stuff. And there's obviously a gigantic customer list that Fanatics is going to be able to take over as well and remarket and target in the coming weeks and months ahead. I just feel that this is wonderful. And I do see the super chats coming in. We'll acknowledge them at the end of the show. Philly Joe with $25. Again, we are matching all of the super chats that come in today. We will be donating to B-Sides, and you'll be able to see it there. I'll make the donation either shortly after the show, or sometimes it takes YouTube a minute to show how many donations come in. I will do it within the next 24 hours on the GoFundMe. We're trying to get a real B-Side a wheelchair ramp as he is trying to move. So I appreciate those coming in. We'll try to get him across the finish line, or get him very close to the finish line when it comes to those things. It's the least surprised I've been when it comes to these types of things. And again, I think a lot of people are just learning about PWCC. They're just learning about, or starting to discover, these trimmed cards. And so, I mean, I want to create as entertaining as a program as possible, and I want to entertain the crowd. But Ryan and I have been covering these stories when it comes to PWCC, covering the trim card scandal for now years, not just here on YouTube, but particularly on our Twitter accounts, on our website, on a podcast. So the fact that a lot of this is coming to fruition and that people are just beginning to figure this out is not surprising. I mean, that was back in 2021 when we were talking about the owner of PWCC talking about shill bidding. This was before they were kicked off of eBay. Okay. And we can't confirm or deny that maybe we've spoken to eBay about PWCC's shill bidding. We can't confirm or deny that we've spoken to the FBI ourselves about PWCC and trimming cards and shill bidding. This is a company that actually, this is the best possible outcome for the people that own this website. Quite frankly, I actually think these people should be in handcuffs and be going to jail for a lot of the things that they've done. We're talking about criminal things that PWCC has done. And we're not talking about hyperbole here. We're talking about legitimate fraud, legitimate things that you can actually go to jail for. I think they're actually lucky, and their timing couldn't have been worse. The market has obviously been drained out of the hobby, but you do have Fanatics that was likely able to come in there. And I think you said, somebody quoting or somebody referencing that maybe it was for, quote, pennies on the dollar that they were able to scoop this up. And there's obviously some rumors as well as the marriage between the two, quote, owners of the company was dissolving relatively quickly as well. And we can't confirm or deny that Ryan has tried to reach out to Betsy. I think if you guys have watched the program for any length of time, probably realize that Ryan probably did reach out to her. And is there any, I think that's probably the most pressing question, Ryan. Did Betsy respond to you, or were you able to reach out to her? How is she doing in this difficult time in her life?
You know, I tried to reach out to Betsy Higgins, but as you can see right here, I am blocked. I'm still blocked by PWCC on Twitter. So I obviously couldn't reach her this way. So, and it sounds like she's got a lot going on. Whether it was a divorce, we're probably the only channel that'll literally mention this on the internet. I've seen some other people try to kind of tiptoe around this topic. As thank you, Auburn Trading Card Show, for the $50.
Thank you.
That's going to go right.
That's going to go to B-Side. I will post a screenshot of me. Because what I hate about donations and where you're donating to somebody that then donates to somebody else, I will post a screenshot of my donation so you guys know that these are all going to go. And I will try to figure out the full amount, because Google and Apple actually take a large percentage. Like if you do a super chat for $10, if you do it through an Apple phone, they take 30% and then Google takes another 40%. So we end up seeing like $2, but I'll do the full amount. And I'll show that donation on my social feeds in the next 24 to 48 hours. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry. Everybody wants to know.
Oh, have I slid into her DMs?
Have you slid in to Betsy's DMs?
I think it would be interesting. I think it would be interesting to talk to anybody high level at PWCC. Now, apparently they're all still there, but I imagine Fanatics is going to want to clean house in probably a fairly quick order. And I wouldn't shock me if, the name PWCC isn't even around in a year or two. And they just fold it into a Fanatics website, the Fanatics website or something else, or call it Fanatics Marketplace or whatever. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens. I think you had some loose lips from some employees that did get fired. And that's how some of these rumors, in my opinion, have gotten out about the divorce, about the loan debacle. There was a story a few months ago how that they had gotten a bank, PWCC had gotten a bank to give them access to $160 million of kind of a line of credit so that customers could loan cards. Well, apparently, I think it was in the Darren Rovell article, that deal fell through. So the only type of people who are going to know that type of information are former employees that have moved on to other companies. And there are plenty of those right now from PWCC. So they become excellent sources of information and gossip. And the gossip on this started to pick up really hot and heavy over the weekend. Even at the card show we were at, this is something that we heard about. And, things came together really quickly. It wouldn't shock me if there were multiple people involved bidding on this, but Fanatics went out. And, we'll see what happens in the future, how they handle the company, how it handles going forward. But it certainly would be interesting and maybe will be interesting. I don't know if we're the program to do this, but there will be people in the future who are let go from this company, who are no longer tied to PWCC or Fanatics. And it would be interesting to get the full story. Was it the loans? Was there some kind of relationship that went bad? When did it go bad? What was the tipping point? Who authorized the loans? Who was it? Brent, who thought it was a good idea to loan 15-year-old kids $80,000 to buy John Morant and Zion Williamson logo man cards? The real nitty-gritty things. Who made that decision, and how did they let that get out of control? There are businesses historically in the United States that have loaned money, and that can be actually a very good business for people, for banks, or for a variety of different things, providing liquidity for people, loaning people money. But this got out of freaking control when we're talking about 15, literally on their freaking YouTube channel. You can go and see a 15-year-old kid talking about how he got money from PWCC to buy a John Morant. I mean, it just blows my freaking mind. Not $800, not $8,000, $80,000. It's historic levels of incompetence to not have any kind of, foresight that, hey, what if things turn sour in the sports card market? What if things just turn sour in the broader market and this thing collapse? And now we're the owners of all these declining assets. And the only way that now PWCC can get their money back from these loans is to dump these cards onto the market and further tank the sports card market.
Sure. I was going to ask you that question.
Of incompetence.
What do you think this is going to do to the sports? Because look, they've been loaning money on these notes, if you will, have been, and this has been going on for years. Okay. And so what do you think it's going to do to the sports card market in the absence, potentially, I know Michael Rubin has mentioned off the cuff that he wants to get into lending. Obviously, it works great on the way up. And if you're loaning money and the asset price increases, it's great. Okay. This is a situation where it's a very volatile asset and it drops in value, obviously, very, very quickly. And they probably loaned exponentially more money at the top than they did kind of leading up. There was probably very little risk management when it comes to these types of things. And so what do you think this is going to do to, I think the broad term would kind of be the liquidity in the sports card market, but to just really make it simple is, what do you think this is going to do to sports card values? You know, obviously at the level that we buy, okay, a $5 to $10 card could decline 10% and it's not going to be that big of a deal. But when we're talking about $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $100,000 cards, what do you think what do you think the impact on the market? I mean, obviously we're seeing the impact on the market. You've done a number of videos over the past month or two talking about a lot of cards are hitting kind of, you know, floor values or starting to hit 52-week low or 2-year values or whatever it might be. You know, are we going to continue to see a cascading effect of this? Or to play a little bit of devil's advocate, it's probably going to take, and I don't know this for a fact because I'm not on PWCC's website, but, you know, are we going to see, you know, PWCC might have to slow down for the transition. So maybe taking the, you know, the availability of auctions off of the marketplace, maybe it actually helps assets that are still being sold. So what are your thoughts on the card value? I know that your videos do really well when you're talking about card values. So clearly there's an audience for that. And I'm just kind of curious what you think with this situation now, where we're unsure what Fanatics is going to do, if it's just going to be business as usual. Certainly they'll probably have a little bit more risk management when it comes to these loans, maybe not give them to 15-year-old kids, maybe not give them as willy-nilly as they did. Or maybe under the terms that they did. What do you think it's going to do to the value of cards going forward?
Well, I think we saw PPP money, stimulus money, and now loan money from PWCC and other auction houses loan money. Golden will loan you money. There's other auction houses that'll loan you money. That's what drove the sports card market so high. That's what drove prices so high. And so absence of that, absence of stimulus money, PPP money, the stock market climbing, Bitcoin climbing, PWCC loaning money, we're just going to see declining prices in that mid to high end. Maybe not declining, but it's going to be stagnant, because where's the new money going to come from? And if there are people having to still sell off assets, whether it's PWCC, whether it's Fanatics, whether it's collectors trying to get out and have to liquidate their holdings for whatever reason, where's the new money going to come from? So until either the broader economy turns around and some new money flows in naturally to the hobby, or Fanatics could, a side point that maybe we could get to is, could you imagine if Fanatics wasn't around to be able to buy up all these companies, how much fun we'd be having right now?
Holy crap.
But if Fanatics, who seemingly has an unlimited budget and money flying, I mean, we thought Jeff Wilson has an unlimited budget. I mean, this guy makes, you know, Michael Rubin makes Jeff Wilson look homeless. I mean, this guy can just seemingly tens of millions of dollars out of nowhere and buying distressed assets and, you know, buying licenses several years out and ramping it up. I mean, it's unbelievable. Hiring 40 employees from Panini like that and getting sued for it. I mean, so if Fanatics then takes some of the money they have and loans it to collectors or investors, or frankly, anyone to buy sports cards, you could see prices go up. You absolutely could see prices go up. So I could see how people, you know, that are into, we're talking about mid to high end cards. Your low end cards that are 25 cents each or $1 each, they're not going to fluctuate 40% in value. But if a $100,000 card fluctuates 40% in value, I mean, that's 40,000 real dollars. And we're going to continue to see that until new money gets flowed into the system. And that new money might be from Fanatics. That would be an interesting question to Michael Rubin and the Fanatics team. Are you going to loan money out for cards, either through PWCC or through some other type of way. Are they, I don't know. This used to happen a lot on the distributor side, but group breakers would get fronted, product or wouldn't have to pay it back for 30 to 90 days. And so group breakers could just get a bunch of product in, sell it, and then pay it back. Is Fanatics going to front group breakers products? Is Fanatics going to front Hobby Shop's product? That will be kind of interesting to see. Will Fanatics flood the zone with some of the money and help the mid to high end card? Just buying PWCC, that's not going to turn around the hobby or turn around the mid to high end sports card market. Until new money flows in, we're going to see, because cards just got too out of control with the PPP money, the stimulus money, the unemployment money, and then PWCC just loaning money willy-nilly. What do you think about that? Am I off base?
No, I think, I think it's the question is less about how much further are the cards going to go down, because I think that's a difficult question to quantify. There's so many different cards out there. Certainly there are cards that are not down. Certainly there are cards that have gone up, but it's the, where is that incrementally new buyer going to show up? It's going to be difficult in this environment when there is far less liquidity and when, you take out the speculative money that PWCC was throwing around. That is certainly going to be taken out. And who knows what Fanatics is going to, I would assume that the purchase price of the company is acquiring all the liabilities, but also acquiring all the assets. I don't think that Brent is going to be walking away with tens of millions of dollars in sports cards that he loaned money off of. So, what are going to be happening to those cards? PSA 10 Jordans, Kobe Bryant autograph cards, Patrick Mahomes patch cards. What is actually going to be happening with those cards? Will Fanatics do some kind of sale there? Those are questions that we'll obviously see, going forward. Is Fanatics going to try to get back on eBay? Or are they going to just run PWCC now on the side? I think it's in Michael Rubin's nature to run that. It's really the perfect platform for him because they don't rely on eBay and they don't rely on that commission structure. And so he's going to be able to take over this asset and put the Fanatics brand behind it. He's going to get a website, whereas if you tried to build that straight up from scratch right now with ChatGPT, it's probably a little easier. But all the coding on that website and, all the debugging that they've done on that website, probably talking in today's dollars, millions of dollars to build out a website like that. Because it's not like they bought a Shopify subscription to build out that website. That is probably almost all custom code. That is extremely expensive to do that. And so if he was able to buy that company for about what it would cost to build out the website, seems like a fantastic deal. Fanatics, as most people tuning into this probably know, they raised, I think $600 or $700 million late last year, and they're planning to go public. I think it's either later this year or at the beginning of next year. This is all pending. At about they raised it a $700 million at a $31 billion valuation. And so they're obviously looking to go public sometime later this year, I've heard, or into next year. Obviously they're trying to exit over a $30 billion valuation when they finally go public. Probably will be marginally difficult in today's market, but give it another 12 months, 16 months, 24 months. It could be a better environment from a fundraising perspective. And so that they're going to get they'll likely get even more capital to continue acquisition. I just think I would not want to be competing against this guy. And again, that's kind of a broken record. We said this when this man took over the licenses. I sent out a tweet the very day, and actually Michael Rubin followed me that day on Twitter. I don't even think I was following him at the time, honestly. I basically said it's RIP for the rest of the industry. If you follow this guy's career, that's literally what he's done his entire career. He's rolled up businesses, and he's basically made it impossible for you to compete against him. And yeah, I would not want to be competing against him in this market. Really the only company that has the resources is probably PSA. Honestly, I mean, Panini, they had to go knock on Tracy Hackler's door this last week and rehire him back. So the only company that, is has a B after their valuation in this industry is obviously PSA. So two-headed horse race, I think, when it comes to auction houses. And Fanatics will be a very, very worthy competitor when it comes to those things. And that I actually think in the sports card market, we're obviously going to see a consolidation on the manufacturing side. Pretty much every licensed trading card is going to come from Fanatics. But on the marketplace side, you are going to obviously have eBay be a very large competitor. Check Out My Cards is not going to go anywhere. But now you're going to have Fanatics in that game. You have Golden. All of these people are going to be competing for your dollar. And then there's, fringe places to sell, fringe and air quotes, to sell your cards too. In my opinion, that's probably going to drive down fees. It's going to create a promotional environment. And I'm really excited about that. And I think these companies like Golden, like Fanatics / PWCC, they should be running more fee promotion. I know when we first started talking about Golden, he was running no fees, which I think is fantastic. But obviously from a business standpoint, at some point that's not sustainable. But I think what these companies should actually do is promote, like, okay, anything baseball this week, no fees. StockX does this quite a bit. I have them on my notifications. Maybe some Jordans drop or something drops, and they basically run half off fees, or sometimes, very limited fees on shoes that just drop. And I think these companies should really get into that. No fees on Pokemon cards for the month of June. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to see a competitive environment. How much is that Tiger Woods? Is that ending this week or is that next week?
30 racks.
Oh, that's 19 days. Oh, never mind. I can't afford that. So like, I actually think we are going to see a competitive environment, and it is probably going to be good for the sellers out there. It'll probably be good for people like us, because we are going to be able to potentially save on some fees as who's going to raise their fees in this environment? When PWCC's in there with Fanatics, does he really have to print a ton of money on his marketplace? Not really, and so he might be able to drop fees. Ebay's can kind of do it. It's in its own stratosphere, but Golden and PWCC are going to be in a fierce battle for the collector dollar over the next decade, probably. And anytime we've seen that in the hobby, it's actually good for the hobby. When you had Upper Deck, Topps, Fleer, all of these companies making cards, we saw some of the best designs. Some of the most valuable and iconic cards were made during those eras. And so I'm actually excited. And I think, like you said, this is the best possible outcome for PWCC. If Fanatics wasn't around, we would have saw this company wither on a vine and potentially go bankrupt, or potentially tie everybody's cards up in court. And we've seen that with Mark's cards, and we've seen that in this hobby before. It could have gotten really, really ugly. But luckily, I think for this hobby, you have a large amount of interest from Fanatics to consolidate as much of the business as possible. And luckily for them, their timing wasn't perfect with Topps. They probably overpaid based on today's market for that asset, but they probably scooped PWCC up for a song and a dance. And over time, that will be a key piece of their business, I think.
I think what I've heard a lot of people talk about is, Fanatics' next move. Is it a grading company? Is it, what's the next move for them? What are your thoughts about, them moving into the grading space? Is there somebody that makes sense from a valuation perspective that they could even get to a number where they could pull off a transaction with an SGC perhaps?
I think that I think that's certainly their aspiration. They probably could roll up a grading company in there. It's interesting. Beckett would have made an interesting acquisition for them, but I actually think the strategy I would do is I would actually just partner with all of the grading companies. And I've actually thought Check On My Cards should have done this a long time ago. And I think the grading card companies should have recognized maybe what CGC recognized when it comes to Check On My Cards. Check On My Cards has 15, 20 million cards in a centralized location, most of them ungraded. I can't think of a better place to set your graders at. Why are you putting these graders in Florida? Why are you putting them down in Southern California in some of the most expensive real estate out here in the state? Put them in ComC's headquarters and be grading the cards there. And the same thing that could happen up in Oregon, if they decide to run this business out of Oregon, is put some graders up there. Partner with PSA, partner with CSG, partner with SGC, put these graders up there, and we can have like immediate turnaround on cards that are ungraded. We can get them graded. We can pull. I mean, I think the fantasy is with Fanatics, we can be on their website. We can click a button, open some packs, maybe break style, maybe just e-pack style. And then we can say, ooh, sell these, send these to me, grade that one. And then 2 days later, it's graded, it's put in my vault, and I either can send it to myself, auction it, take offers, do a Dutch auction, do whatever we want. I think that's the fantasy. But I think that fantasy, it's a fantasy to think that Fanatics is going to make the cards, sell the cards, and grade the cards. I just don't think we sit here a year from now and it's, wow, I got to get my cards graded by Fanatics. I just don't see that. This hobby is very, very particular, and I just don't necessarily see that. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. Trying to win a Kobe Bryant autograph, so why don't you take over? I've got 9 minutes to make it happen here.
One of the things I saw that was interesting, Probstein, one of the largest kind of consigners in the same actually space as PWCC is, he suggested that Fanatics make a move for Jeff Wilson and Sports Card Investor, because you could see a tie in there with his Market Movers app. Fanatics will want you to be able to buy the card, pull the card, grade the card, store the card, and then price the card, right? You want to be able to look, how much is my card worth? You might have to leave at this point, you might have to leave the Fanatics experience to price your card. So you could buy a Jeff Wilson, get his Market Movers, but also get access to his, he's the freaking hobby legend. Right? I mean, he's the absolute legend. He's the god. He's the freaking god of the hobby. Jeff Wilson could get on his couch. They've already made a card of him. Come on, they've already made a card of him. Jeff Wilson could get on his couch and pump Fanatics product and tell you to buy this product and tell you to get into this Dutch auction. And tell you to go over and buy on PWCC or Fanatics Live. Who better in this hobby to actually get the word out? How is Fanatics going to get the word out about its products? I guess from group breakers. I guess from shop owners who do promotion. I guess from just naturally these cards coming out. But Jeff Wilson could sit on his couch.
How do you get the word out to buy like you want a Lakers jersey? And you're going to go buy it online. I think Fanatics' play is they do spend a lot on PPC marketing, affiliate marketing, things like that. But part of the deal is, okay, if you want a Lakers jersey, there's really only one place to buy it. And so do you really need Jeff Wilson to promote?
But you only buy one. You only buy one Lakers jersey. What they're trying to do is build 10X collectors. So if you were trying to actually build a Lakers jersey collector, you wouldn't flood. PPP ads are only going to get them, I said PPP ads. PPC ads are only going to get you so far.
Yeah.
They're trying to 10X collectors, supposedly. So you've got to hit them in different ways and get them to make consistent purchases. Like Fanatics needs almost daily transactions from tons of different customers. Like the Lakers, they know most people are going to buy one jersey a year, right? That's why Fanatics has gobbled up that entire industry. And it's not just jerseys, the t-shirts, the hats, this. Fanatics owns all of that, across many different license platforms. So they're trying to bring the same thing into cards. But I think what they're going to find is cards are a little different. A lot of people don't just make like one little card purchase. What their goal, and if they need to really drive this hobby, they need collectors or people or investors or whoever buying cards day after day or week after week. I mean, that's probably part of the reason why they bought PWCC is because they hold a weekly auction. There are weekly auctions on Golden. There's, auctions ending by the second on eBay. Ruben needs hardcore customers. And I'm not saying the audience for Jeff Wilson is hardcore, but you're going to need to tap into that group and pump whatever Fanatics is doing over the next several years. And I'm sure Fanatics is going to hire their own people and their own team of people and be pumping marketing. But we've seen some of those videos hit the mark. Here's a video that did get 5,000 views. That's not bad. But if you go through PWCC's, views on their videos, they don't get, here's 30 views, 100 views 2 weeks ago.
People don't know how to do
for
YouTube.
A company that just sold for a multi-million-dollar valuation. Yeah. I'm not saying that their marketing strategy is tied to YouTube, but Fanatics is going to need to kind of cut through and have some consistent buyers and consistent hype and consistent excitement around their products. And I'm trying to figure out how they're going to do that beyond the standard marketing that we've seen, the tried and true marketing that we've seen. And you're probably getting an ad right now for PWCC or Fanatics or something, right? But how do they really cut deep? And if you had Jeff Wilson sitting on his couch, and he's probably going to do this anyways for his own benefit, but I'm just thinking, Probstein was the one who threw this idea out. That, hey, the next person they should buy is Sports Card Investor. And then you also get the price guide. Now, you could probably tie in a price guide with what the data PWCC has. PWCC probably has, as rich a data set as ComC does. Here's a company that should build a price guide and could build like the most amazing price guide for every card. Every card, not just high-end cards. Every card. $2.80 card, 71-cent cards, 35-cent cards. I mean, they have data on all the cards. Those type of things are important. It was data, and it was kind of the graphs, and it was kind of the hype that led the market up, along with the loan money. So I don't know. Fanatics is doing a heck of a job basically bailing out some of these companies, Topps, PWCC. They tried to throw a lifeline to Panini. I'm just wondering when they fully do take control and Fanatics starts to put up videos and they get 118 views in 3 weeks. Michael Rubin's going to look at that and be like, dude, how do we tap into like a larger audience? How do we tap into like the hardcore group? You might have to sign up old Jeff Wilson. As much as people probably hate to probably admit that, but you probably have to sign up Jeff Wilson. You probably have to send out free boxes to Jab's family and Pac-Man and the like. And other celebrities and other people who aren't really necessarily tied with cards, but that are influencers. And we've seen, people, Logan Paul gets tied into that, Gary V, the celebrities who are, made their fame in something else, but that are tied to cards. I think some of the Selling Sunset guys, the two guys who run that are into cards. You've got me hooked on Selling Sunset. I think I'm into season 5 now, so I haven't gotten to
this season's fantastic.
Chriselle just started dating, was it Brett? One of the
No,
twins.
don't worry. She goes off the
Oh,
rails.
I'm sure she's going off the deep end here pretty soon.
She goes
in a
off
few
the rails.
episodes.
He makes one of the greatest. I won't spoil it for you, but he makes a great decision in a season or two later. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I'm excited.
You'll see that when that comes up.
But that's the type of programming and that's the type of excitement that Fanatics needs to build around sports cards. They need to have some type of programming, some kind of influencer, some type of daily thing or weekly thing that people watch and people want to watch. And that's more exciting than this stuff, right?
I mean, their YouTube strategy is terrible. If you're getting 30 views, like your strategy is terrible. So, and I think we've seen that. Look, I mean, we don't want to, we're not Mr. Beast, but I think we've realized, how you capitalize on YouTube, how you deliver content on YouTube and the way you need to do it. And if you do it consistently, you can really grow your audience, grow your reach, and, do your thing. Maybe Fanatics should knock on our door.
How much would that cost, do you think? Well, what would we charge for Fanatics?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. 2 weeks ago wouldn't have cost very much. Now we're talking major money for me. So I'm bidding on Kobe Bryant autographs over here, so you know how things are going for me right now. So I mean, I don't know. So for me, it would be probably. I think maybe Jeff Wilson would be cheaper at this point right now. Maybe for you, a night or two with Betsy and a couple $1,000 and maybe you'd be good.
No comment on that.
Yeah. If I wasn't trying to keep it G rated, there's another way I could go with that, but we'll keep that off limits since 18 is the legal age, I think, in California. Investicard done. Are they done or are they just move?
Okay. I don't think they're done. Okay. Investicard is one of these guys who went around all these card shows and would essentially loan you money for cards. Basically did the same thing PWCC did. And if you go to their Instagram, if you go to their website, I think they've changed the address to a FedEx like P.O. box. But within this office, and I don't think they show it, there's like a bank vault in here that they were holding all your cards in. And so now it appears you can rent the Investicard office.
Interesting.
So, just probably here pretty soon, another casualty to the sports card market, probably another casualty to the sports card boom. And just another idea that just, you have to run this business almost to perfection to not get underwater on this stuff. Because once you start seeing declining values in cards, then the stuff you wrote the loans on, I mean, it's just, we've seen this happen in the housing market. We've seen this happen in other markets, and we've seen this actually with a larger company with PWCC happen with a larger company in the space with PWCC. So it is interesting. This guy does probably have in his possession a ton of cards. Now, where are those cards? They were previously, I believe, held here. So now the question is, where are these cards? Is your loan safe? This was a 13,000 square foot office. These guys leveraged up so big. So big. If they were in our shoes, they would have a 20,000 square foot studio and we'd have all these expensive microphones and this person over in the corner doing this. These guys leverage their business up so much. 13,000 a month.
Crazy.
13,000 square foot a month. That's probably, what do you think the cost of rent? Well, maybe we can find out.
$20 a square foot a year.
Is that what it said?
Yeah. So it's a lot.
It's a lot. So $26,000 a year to rent this?
It's too much.
That's just your rent.
Yeah,
That's just
exactly.
your rent. Like this dude's outlay per month was probably over 5 figures a month, probably easy for this business. And then he travels around to card shows and tries to gain business. These guys were out of their mind.
It's
like
stupid.
out of their freaking mind, some of these people. Let alone the loans to the 15-year-old kids.
Yeah, I don't get. I mean, we were watching this when it was happening, and we were just, you know, I think it was pretty easy to predict that it was going to end badly for a lot of people involved. And you know, I think we got. I think early on, I think the turning point. We talked about this. I think this last weekend was the turning point for us. Was we went down to a show in San Diego. It was actually north of San Diego. We showed up. We were there for about 3 hours. We sold our entire table, went down to San Diego, got put up in I don't know, $15 million penthouse, and spent the weekend there, did a podcast, posted it here on YouTube. Not very many people watched it. Got made fun of that everybody was listening to Jeff Wilson. Everybody was doing this. Nobody was listening to Sports Card Radio. And since then, our fortunes have certainly turned around, in my opinion, quite a bit since that time, because I think it was easy to see what was happening. It was easy to see what was about to go down. And the people that were wrapped up into it, emotionally attached, certainly could not see it or experience it or have any kind of good perspective on that. And look, I'm not surprised, honestly, not surprised with where the hobby is and where it's going. Honestly, not surprised. And that's why we're bidding. That's why we're on here actually actively bidding, because, you know, you didn't see us do this a year ago. You didn't see us do this 2 years ago because it wasn't worth buying this stuff. Now that the hobby is starting to fall flat from a value perspective, I mean, guys, if houses went down 30, 40% over the next 2 years, would you get into real estate? If your favorite stock went down, and most of them did, if your favorite stock went down 30, 40%, you know, NVIDIA was down 50% this time last year. Okay. That's worked out fantastic if you stepped in and bought this. And so we're actually seeing this in the sports card market right now. These cards are down quite a bit. Okay. Maybe not Kobe Bryant autograph cards for $5,000, but you know, like there are cards that are down. And it doesn't mean it's the bottom. It doesn't mean that you need to run out there and rack up your credit card or do things like that. But there are opportunities now. There are really, really good opportunities. And I don't know if John Moran is one. You know, I mean, this guy's clearly unhinged. But John Moran cards are, you know, I mean, God, they're probably going to approach Lonzo Ball status here pretty soon. So there's great opportunities, and this is the time when you start to actually start buying these cards and when you start to sell. Ryan, you want to talk about our card show? We're about an hour deep. Do you want to talk about our card show this last weekend? We had a really good time up in Roseville, which is just kind of northeast of Sacramento. And look, and I think the one thing I will say is you have had all these content creators, and I'm not necessarily talking about the guy that you're playing right now, but you've had all these content creators from Mojo to, Jeff Wilson, to all these guys that showed up at these card shows. And I don't think any of them had the right strategy. We showed up, Ryan, a little bit late on a Friday, sold, probably a couple $100 worth of stuff. Saturday was by far the busiest day. You had Malik Monk there, who was a big star in Sacramento. You had Jose Canseco, who could still draw a crowd. There was a number of other autograph guests that could still draw a crowd. We probably had close to maybe $1,000 worth of sales on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we come in there, immediately put 50% off price tags on our table, and we put a price on the whole table. And during the entire show, we are making friends, we're shaking hands, we're having a good time. and, making trades and things like that. We had 2 nice cards in the cabinet, and a really nice gentleman comes over, and I start selling him the whole table and said, "Hey, this is a great deal. Why don't you come in here and buy the whole table?" And sure enough, Ryan, by around lunchtime, we sold our entire table. In fact, I would say Sunday was our best selling day, and it was by far the most dead day out of them all. These guys that show up at card shows and aren't ready to make a deal, aren't ready to sell, don't make a lot of sense to me. You should show up to a card show and literally look to sell your entire table and go home empty-handed. And that's essentially what we did. I think we had nearly $4,000 worth of sales during the week. It was fantastic. Ryan, how was the card show experience for you?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I think we go and do it just because, hey, we get on here, we talk about business, we talk about sports card dealers, we talk about the overall market. And I think if you're going to do that, it serves yourself well to go set up at one of these card shows. It doesn't matter how big or small, and park yourself at a table for several hours for 2 or 3 days and get on the front lines and wheel and deal and listen to people, figure out kind of what people are buying, what people are looking for, what people's reaction to cards are. Shoot, at the card show is when we found out that PWCC was for sale. So you find out things, you meet people, and our strategy, yes, is probably a little bit different. We try and essentially, as you're watching a video, actually, Midlife Sports Cards, one of the people that we met at the show, went around, and as you can see, he's just kind of going from table to table showing you off. So that's what you're seeing on the screen here. And this was the card show we were at. And our strategy is essentially to sell everything. So by Sunday, if you've had potentially hundreds of people pick through your inventory and we weren't able to sell it, then yeah, you drop the price in half and you try to sell everything you have. And that's certainly our goal. We even sold the display cases. That I purchased about a year ago. So that's what we're really trying to do. For us, it's a hey, we picked up a few $1,000s, but it's also great experience. And I think if you sell cards online, I think if you're a sports card influencer and you talk about sports cards online, I think it's a great experience to go and set up at a card show and meet people and just get on the front lines. And there are people who do this, 2 or 3 times a month and who travel around from show to show and do this. And I got a lot of respect for those people because it's certainly a grind. By Saturday afternoon, boy, you're checking the clock. You're like, oh, what time are we at? Is it 5 or 6? What time are the Lakers playing? Are they going to lose again tonight? So it was hot in that building on Friday. It certainly cooled off the remaining days, but some of these card shows, it's a grind to get to them. It's a grind to set up. And you're at the mercy of people showing up. But our strategy has been, certainly at the last few shows we've set up at, bring inventory that we're not emotionally attached to and try to sell everything. Literally go there, try to sell everything. And certainly sometimes we probably got the better end of some deals. We made some money, and certainly probably toward the end, people who came up and purchased from us got the better end of those deals. But hey, we're watching, footage from this show. These types of shows didn't exist 10 years ago. There was that TriStar show out in the Cow Palace that had great autograph guests, but the card show itself was really lukewarm, and it was like 50 tables. And it was like, yeah, I always picked up some good stuff, but it certainly wasn't worth traveling to San Francisco for. These card shows are just getting better and better and better. And that's one thing that post the apocalypse here, the kind of the meltdown of some of these businesses, the PWCCs, the Investicard, there's still a lot of hope for this industry because you still have card shows, you still have interest. We saw it firsthand. Again, that's why we go set up, because you want to get on the front lines and you want to talk to people and you want to see, the transactions taking place. You want to talk to other dealers. And there's life in this industry. I think on the mid to high end, that was mostly fueled by PPP money, by stimulus money, and by loans given out by the companies themselves, either PWCC or somebody like Investicard. you're going to see the mid to high end kind of continue to crater, continue to slide because there's so many cards in that kind of ballpark now. But just the general interest of sports cards, whether we're talking about 35-cent cards or $20 cards, and I think somewhere below $500 and under, there's a lot of thirst. There's a lot of interest. I'm sure there's a lot of new interest in some of these, new football players that are coming along. Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be, playing basketball here shortly. Be a lot of interest in him. A lot of interest in the playoffs. So there's some exciting things, but anybody too heavily tied to the mid to high end, anybody who got overexposed to these loans are probably feeling the pain. And we've probably got a little bit more time to go for Michael Rubin to consolidate things and to potentially snatch up companies. I think we've heard a lot of chatter about grading companies, and we've also heard at least Probstein himself throughout, somebody like Jeff Wilson, a media play. I think coming up with a price guide would be important for them as well. Got to be able to price your cards effectively or look up the value of your cards effectively. And right now that's still, unless you're a person kind of in the know, that still can be kind of a complicated process to really determine the value of your sports cards if they're not something that sell all the time. So where are we at? We're trying to keep this G-rated. We could certainly go into a lot of different discussion about PWCC. We've talked about them, again, at length over the years. This is an article that I wrote in 2019.
I'm just glad, people are picking up on this. It looks like we dropped Betsy Husband. Oops, I just removed you. Oh, you're back. I'm just glad people are picking up on this. People are starting to talk about it. People are starting to, talk about the things that we talked about 3-4 years ago. And, it's almost come full circle. We were talking about card trimming. We were talking about shield bidding. We were talking about some of these shady auction houses. And while everybody was on there buying cards at the top of the market, and now these guys are starting to talk about trimmed cards, starting to become aware of the trimmed cards, starting to become aware of the shady stuff that's happening at some of these auction houses, starting to understand who's the owner, who's running the business. And we're on here bidding on these cards. We're constantly, I think, skating where the puck isn't. And, in a down market, people are going to focus on these things. And this is when you capitalize, guys. When I can imagine in a couple of years, real estate's going to be down, interest rates will be back down, but nobody's going to have any money or any willingness to buy real estate. But that's going to be a fantastic time to jump in there. Same thing with trading cards. The fact that they're down at these levels, it doesn't mean they won't keep going down, but it doesn't mean that there's not opportunities as well. What'd you sell your box for this week? $88? What happened? Yeah, those are peeling off for like 300, right?
Gosh, I should be ashamed of myself. I know. Brutal. I'm selling this other box. I think I paid, this one ends next week. I think I'll have to go back and look at the auction. I think I paid $160 for 8 of these. So it's already at 94. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Thought that ended.
No, this has 6 days left.
Oh yeah, you'll be fine.
This is next week. So this could be this could be actually another good purchase on my end to purchase this case. So do we want to go through the chat? Do we want to go through the super chat?
Yeah.
You want to run through questions?
I'm trying to, I'm spending over here. So
Kevin Connor, 279 Canadian. That's going to go to our boy Real B-side. Needs a little help with a wheelchair ramp. So, hey, we got him over here at Sports Card Radio. So we're going to donate all this money to him. Samuel Lawrence, great meeting you guys at the show. It was great meeting you guys. We had tons of people. My phone's blown up. We had tons of people coming up to us at the show. I mean, dozens
Samuel
of
in particular was memorable. I believe he was the one that drove down, and yeah, just it was nice talking to him. I think he sent us an email as well. He's got some things I think that you might find
okay,
useful.
I did see that. I actually did see that. I'm definitely gonna reply to you. Don't worry. Give me
I have a
a couple
PO
days and
box
I'm gonna,
if you want to use that.
okay. I might just use my home address because I don't care.
Okay.
PWCC guaranteed 10 to 15% annual return with a
He's right.
minimum deposit of $250,000. Millions in debt. What a great deal that was in March. So, okay, that's pretty interesting. So if you deposited $250,000, they guaranteed you 10
These were
to
on the
15%.
notes. So these were the notes that they were selling. Essentially, they were acting essentially like a bank. They were taking in deposits. They would guarantee a 10 to 15% annual return on that note, or at least that's what it was quoted at. I don't know if it was guaranteed in quotes, but yeah, they were promising essentially a large return. And you know, if you deposited or if you invested, quote, in those notes. And so, yeah, no, that is what they were doing. They were taking these deposits, then they would take that money and go loan it out for people to buy trading cards that then subsequently tanked relatively hard in value. So yeah, it was and they were doing this for a while. Okay. And so they built up a lot of, and they constantly I was on the email list for these notes. I don't know why, but I would get the email solicitation. Hey, we've got another round of note raising. Here's the requirements. Here's the interest rate, those types of things. And they would puff piece it like this is return better than the S&P 500 and all this other stuff. And clearly that was not the case. I'm sure those note holders are struggling a little bit at this hour with that quote investment.
Cody says, I met Jeff Wilson at the Dallas Sports Card Show this past Saturday. He said, nice to meet you to me. Felt like it was a lie, but what do you expect? So was Sports Card Investor being genuine at the Dallas Sports Card Show? We are going to have to investigate and follow up further on an episode of Sports Card Radio. Stay tuned to that, folks. We are going to follow up with that. Ryan asked, are you guys still playing golf? I can't remember the last time I played golf. Actually, Colin, when's the last time you played golf?
I looked at my country club statement and I played 3 times in 6 months. And so I actually canceled it because the plan is for the same price, I could go stay at Pebble Beach on Pebble Beach. I've stayed at Pebble Beach before. I can stay at Pebble Beach, play golf, and have a wonderful dinner for the price of my country club membership. So I said, I just don't have time anymore. I can't, I don't have time to get out there. I was hoping my kids would kind of get into it. But not for that price. I can literally take my kids to Pebble Beach and go play out there. So I have not been playing golf. Probably going to be a little rusty, but the goal is once or twice a year, get out, play Spyglass, get out, play Pebble, and have a little the aquariums down there. My kids are into that. So I'm probably going to turn into like a once or twice a year golfer, but when I do play, it will be, one of California's finest courses.
Sounds like I need to warm up my back swing.
It's only, I don't know if you stay at the hotel, it's not that expensive. And I put that in quotes. You need a caddy, you need to tip your caddy, but considering what I was paying for a country club membership, it's not that expensive to go play and stay at Pebble.
Let's make it happen. Jeezy Keen says Fanatics only lacks a grading service now. So yeah, we talked about that a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. Now, I do know that historically the bigger company that owns Beckett, and I know a lot of people maybe want to think about Beckett, and that would maybe be kind of a logical choice for Fanatics. If you dig into, do a little bit of research on the company that actually owns Beckett, the guy that runs it, his motto, his like literal motto is he doesn't sell companies. I think he owns like 250 of them or something ridiculous, and he never sells them. Never sells them. And I don't know if their new CEO, Kevin Isaacson, is somebody who's going to bring any type of negotiating skills or push anything like that over the finish line. So I would be shocked personally if it was Beckett, but I could see a potential deal with SGC because they don't have all these other businesses. There's not, all this other crap that Beckett owns. And so I could see a potential deal maybe there if that's where they were looking. Obviously, I think PSA would be too expensive. PSA itself is worth more than Topps. PSA itself is worth $1 billion. So I don't think that's the type of transaction that Fanatics is looking. And I doubt that PSA would want to sell their business for cheap anyways. I mean, I'm sure there's a price to it, but I doubt they would want to sell it on the cheap. So I would, if it were me, I would look, if they're looking at anything, I would think it could possibly be with SGC. Everybody else, it's maybe a little too big, a little more too complex. I personally think Beckett in their CEO search should have looked at SGC and looked at Peter and see if they could have pried him away, right? Or maybe there's a number 2 guy at PSA that you could have pried away, but I don't want to get into the Beckett talk. Are you following Betsy on LinkedIn yet? I'm hoping to find her on Tinder or Bumble, actually, but no, I'm not following Betsy yet. There are rumors, and they are rumors that Betsy Higgins is getting a divorce from Brent Higgins. So we'll stay on top of that on Sports Card Radio. I'm sure we're one of the few channels who will stay on top of that drama. The trimming, talk about a great TV show, boy. If you had cameras rolling at PWCC the last few months, I mean, you could have 8-part, 10-part episodes. I mean, get me over there to produce that. And Lord, we'd have the whole hobby watching that drama. The trimming and loaning to kids, they had no morals. He is referring to PWCC, of course. Any way to find out what PWCC sold for? No, the legend himself, Jeff Wilson, on a podcast today, or his video today, he said it was a small number. He said it was a fraction of what PWCC could have sold for just a few short years ago. Jeff Wilson seemed astonished for how low PWCC supposedly sold for.
Yeah, I think, I don't know the number, but my guess is to build out the website they had if you were to sit down today with a team of coders, some from India, some from the United States, wherever, it would probably cost you more. And I don't know if this also retains the assets that they've loaned money on. Like to me, there was probably and what we don't understand, there was probably so many liabilities from the notes, from just all the loans, from, other things that they might've done. They were so underwater from a liability perspective that it looks like a low number from a cash changing hand perspective, but Fanatics is absorbing a lot of liabilities. So the total number is actually a lot larger than the acquisition price, because you factor in that Fanatics now likely owes some of the note holders. They have all these liabilities. Maybe there were bank loans that PWCC is obligated to pay back. So the total number is probably a lot larger than the quote acquisition price. This was a distressed asset it's similar to buying like a house that's worth, it's on the beach and it all restored and looking great. It's worth 10 million, but you only bought it for $1 million because now you're going to have to put 9.9 into it to redo all the damage or whatever has been done. And then that's basically what we were seeing with PWCC. It was a damaged business. Fanatics is coming out there basically bailing it out. They do get it for quote pennies on the dollar, but there's a lot of restoration that is likely going to have to be done. But in my opinion, they get a website and a customer list that is worth a lot of money. Like that website and the customer list, and a little bit to a lesser degree SEO and the data, that's worth a lot of money.
Corvette 72778, $2, baby. D1 cards, $4.99, baby. Philly Joe, $25.
Sweet.
Bang.
Thank you.
Sean says, my aunt suffers from MS. Much love to B-side. Please keep making hobby-related music too. I have your song on my streaming playlist. It's also on mine, so it pops up when I'm in my car, and I'm just like,
nice,
blasting it out the window and everything. So yes, maybe we'll get a sequel from Real B-side. I'm sure everybody's waiting for that. Andrew with the 199. Elong with the 279. You down with PPP. Auburn Trading Card Show, $50, baby. There it is right there.
Nice. Thank you. Auburn Card Show. That's who bought out our table.
Boom.
They have a show. Give me 2 seconds. Let me pull up. They have a show coming up. I got this guy's phone number. When you get my phone number, this is how you reach me. If you DM me on one of these social platforms, the odds of me returning your message are 0. August 19th, Auburn Card Show in Auburn, California.
Let's go.
That is from 9 to 4 p.m. and we'll try to make it.
PWCC stood for pre-war card collector, or pressing, washing, cutting, trimming.
Conserving.
Sharper Vintage Card says, great job, guys. $5. And he doubled it up. He went back to back.
Nice.
With the $5.
I'm writing these down, but I'll double check it.
1999 Matthew Piercy. Great show, gents. Giants still suck. Hey, we got back to 500.
The New York Giants.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're talking about the New York Giants because let me remind you, since 2010, the historic franchise known as the San Francisco Giants have won 3 world championships. Need I remind the audience? I think
not one, not two,
but 3.
But
3. I think we're going to do that for every show now. Is Fanatics buying sports card radio for $10 million? Yes, sold. Michael, sold. You
could take the 0 off of that, and it would. You could take a lot of zeros off of that.
We're ruining our negotiating stats, but if Michael Rubin came to us and he offered us $10 million, I think we'd have. What do you think? We'd have to call ourselves and be like, what do you think? $5 million each. What do you think? Would our lifestyle change? You think my lifestyle would change a little bit?
We wouldn't be calling each other. We'd be on the jet to Vegas.
Sports Card Radio. What's your ComC ID? It's actually Sports Card Radio. Hello, Sports Card Radio. So yeah, hit it. Actually, I don't have a sale running. If you do go to my account right now, if you offer 50% off, I'm going to snap accept.
Yeah.
I'm going to snap accept.
Everything's 50% off.
So don't think if you go right now and look, if you're watching and you're like, dude, he has all his stuff overpriced. It's usually because I'm running a sale. I'm just too lazy. I haven't clicked the buttons and ran the sale. But if you see anything you want, offer me 50% off and it'll be a snap accept. Oh, let me get back to the comments. If Jeff could suck his own snail, he'd never leave the house. I'm gonna, that's a good one there. Car Collector 2 needs some hate too. His store is severely overpriced, similar to my ComC account right now. It's comical.
Some of these guys are still living in 2020, 2021 land. Honestly, I think.
North Coast Baseball Cards with the $5. Nice meeting both of you at the SAC Card Show and enjoyed talking to both of you. Just wish the DJ would have played B-side. Yes, we were talking about that. There was a lot of kids around. There was a kids basketball tournament going on at the same time. So there was a lot of kids at the show. And if we're going to play the show at the end. We're going to play the song at the end. And there are some curse words in the song. So unfortunately the real B-side did not blast over the speakers at the card show. Our producer asked, am I involved with SCR at Fanatics by Yes.
Well, we'll give you what's called shadow equity. So what do you think, Ryan? 5%. So if we sell the equity vest in a merger or an acquisition, so you get 5% of the acquisition price million. If and when it closes. So
sounds like a deal.
Should I DM Michael Rubin right now?
Please do that right now.
Pull that off.
Tell him to put the 10 million in writing and we'll discuss.
He wouldn't have to put it in writing. He would just.
Right.
Yeah.
Jay Kilpatrick says, should you wear deodorant at a card show? Yes. And you should have some with you because on Friday at the show, it was a sweat box. So thank God I probably put on a little bit of deodorant. I probably should have showered a little. I probably should have scrubbed down a little bit more in the shower. But yes, anybody going out to the National this year, please, you need to go double up on cologne because it's humid out there in Chicago. So you're literally going to walk out of the hotel and you're going to be like, oh, the National's right there. It's just a short little walk. But that short little walk is going to be like a human sweatbox to you. You're going to be freaking get into the show and you're going to be all sticky and all like wet and stuff. And so please, deodorant, cologne. There should be a table at the show that sells it. I mean, talk about the best and busiest table at the show. Let's see if we got any more super chats. It appears Jay had the last one.
Cool. Thank you. I'll total this up. I will send that check over.
Dave Scard says 4K in revenue. What do you estimate the profits to be? I mean, when we account for the table fee, we went out to dinner at Ruth Chris. We went out to dinner twice, or we had Shake Shack twice. We had to charge the Teslas fully. No, we did not make money. The hotel, no, it wasn't a money-making venture for us. I think down the line, maybe some of those things become money-making ventures. We're very good friends with the general manager of the card show down there, who runs the card shop and who was kind of running the card show down there. So that was part of the reason why we did it. And like I said, it's great experience for us. I get on here and run my mouth about the sports card industry for 10 minutes at a time. And some of those videos are highly watched, at least within the sports card community. I better have set up recently, within the last 6 to 12 months at a card show and sat there on my butt and talked to people buying sports cards, people selling sports cards, talking to other dealers, getting the vibe of the room. I think that's valuable, very, very valuable information. And yeah, if we broke even, if we lost a little bit of money when you add up all the expenses, actually, we probably hope we lose a little bit of money so that it's not, it's not something we have to write on the taxes. So we'll have to get the full details of, what we spent and what we sold. But no, the 4K, it was not a huge money-making venture.
It was close to breaking. I would say probably minus the Ruth Chris. Okay, we went and had bone-in Wagyu at Ruth Chris. So minus that, it was probably really close, really, really close from table. We booked a cheap hotel. It was probably close to break even, minus the steakhouse.
You showed up to a small card show where nobody you talk about would be. Then you take a bath on a large portion of cards and brag about it. I mean, first of all, there was actually people that we've done videos at the show. So no, there were actually people, that could have confronted us or could have said something. That we've done videos about. So I would argue the point that we took a bath on a lot of the cards. Some of those things had been actually sitting around my house for a year. I found 120 Joe Burrow rookie cards that I sold to one person that had been sitting around, my house for a long time. So some of those things I wasn't into for a lot of money. Some of those things I didn't even know we had.
And look, we can't control who's going to be at the card show. I think the Dallas card show was going at the same time. I'm not flying out to Dallas, but we'll probably be at Burbank in 2 months. And I'm sure Jeff Wilson will be there. I'm sure, a lot of people that we talk trash on will be there. And, look, I think some of you guys get the perception that we're scared to meet these people, or we're scared to get face to face them. That there could be absolutely nothing further from the truth. Absolutely nothing further from the truth. If somebody comes up and wants to have a verbal confrontation with us, then that's the way it goes. If it crosses the line further than that, they're going to regret that. That's all I'll say.
Well, here's the thing. I've been going to card shows since 2012 and have been hearing the same song and dance. For the better part of 10 years. And if you listen to some of our old PWCC podcasts, the language, the rhetoric, the way we talked about people, this is G-rated compared to what we used to say. So yeah, we used to get threatened all the time. You're going to show up at the National and get spit in the face and get beat up. And I would hear that about other people, other beef in the hobby. People would say, oh, at the National, people are going to show up at the Topps booth with pitchforks and blah, blah, blah. That never happens. Ever. Have I seen physical confrontations at card shows? Yes. It was between two distributors. Those are the people who really don't like each other. It was Peach State and Gold River distributors got in a fist fight at an off-site party for the National. That was the only time I've ever seen close to physical confrontation, beef between two businesses, beef between two people. So Peach State was holding a party. There was all these group breakers, and some of them you guys would know were in the room. And the guy at Gold River was mad that this was going on. So he crashed the party. And then somebody from Peach State and Gold River, boom, little confrontation there at the, I think it was the House of Blues. I think that was at the Cleveland National. That's the, people talk about beef and, oh, and you're going to show, that never happens. Card shows are about the most G-rated tame event because people go to these shows and they put their head down and they want to find something they're looking for. If you go to the National, it's like literally walking into a museum. So the last thing on your mind is some stupid YouTube beef you had about a video you made about somebody a year and a half ago. Literally, that's the last thing on your mind. Because every booth you go to has something worth looking at or examining or an interesting story behind it. So I think it's fun for the hobby to, think about, sports card radio is going to show up at these card shows and get beat up. Guys, I've been going to card shows for freaking 10, 15 years and have talked way more crap about people. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Those things don't happen. So, if you just live at home with mommy and daddy and make comments on YouTube videos, and you can think that, the reality is that we're going to show up and somebody's going to beat us up, it's not going to happen. Absolutely never going to happen. Jeff Wilson will not come beat us up. That's like literally the last thing he would do. Literally the last thing he would do. Mojo Sports Autograph. Last thing he would do is come try to beat us up. This is not going to happen. I saw two distributors, Peach State and Gold River, fight one time because distributors hate each other. Hate each other. Actually hate each other. Not YouTube beef hate each other. Actually effing hate each other because the competition on that end for the group breakers, for allocation on boxes, that's real money. That's real money. So just to make things clear, we may make jokes about we're going to show up and no, that's not. Do you guys ever go to card shows? Do fights ever break out at card shows? No, I do know some squirrely things happen at the Dallas card show. Sometimes there's thefts. Sometimes the cops show up. Our boy Brent Higgins did get served by the FBI at the 2019 National. So the FBI came by his booth and served him with a subpoena. There's some drama for you guys. But no, nobody's getting beat up at a card show. I've been going to card shows for a long time and have heard a lot of stuff. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. The funniest thing I ever saw was at the National, Topps was handing out promotional sets. And so what people would do is they'd like race to the Topps booth and they'd line up and you had to buy like a Bowman Platinum box. And at that time, the Bowman Platinum box was only like $95. So you bought the Bowman Platinum box and you got a set. But then Topps would like run out and these collectors stood in line for like an hour during the National and they didn't get a set. And so this dude, and I have a picture of it, I'm too lazy to bring it up, but he literally stood. God, why didn't I get video of it? He literally stood by the Topps booth and he said, I'm taking names right now for a class action lawsuit against Topps. And he started like trying to get people's names and stuff. And I have a great picture with him actually with a sheet of paper trying to take down names. And then in the background is the Upper Deck booth. And then Chris Carlin, who used to work at Upper Deck and he actually works at PSA now. He's just sitting there with like this half smile on his face, just looking at all the chaos and all the action at the Topps booth. So that's the type of drama that happens at a card show is collectors get mad that they miss out on an exclusive set and then they threaten a class action lawsuit against Topps. There's not fights between people or dealers, especially over silly YouTube beef. I've been going to these shows for years and years and years. And especially with how busy the National is now, you could go to the National and never run into these people. You could go to the Dallas Card Show and probably never run into these people if you're only there for a day or two.
I mean, we're setting up with Sasha T in like 2 weeks at a card show. So
That's
things
true.
things I think people that view these videos take it more seriously than the people that we talk about. Not that we'll set up at a card show with Jeff Wilson, but look.
If he paid us enough money, if he paid us $10 million, we'd set up at any card show with him, right? I mean, there's a price for everything. There was a price for PWCC. There's a price Michael Rubin is paying for everything.
Everybody has a price.
There's rumors that, Probstein threw out that Jeff Wilson should sell to Fanatics. Debbie, my friend Debbie, actually, $20.
Added that.
So that gets added to the chat.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Will you set up with Brian Gray? Absolutely. Brian Gray's our boy now. So I know we've taken actually heat from that because Brian Gray historically has been somebody that we've been a punching bag over here at Sports Card Radio. And we've gone back and forward with Brian Gray. Brian Gray one time DM'd me the value of my parents' house on Zillow. I mean, we have so many good stories about him. The Damian Lillard, the Joe Clemens. We ended up in a court case. We got called as witnesses by Upper Deck to testify against Leaf. How many of your favorite content creators out there have been called to testify by Upper Deck against Leaf? You're literally watching the only two that has happened to. So we've had a lot of beef with Brian Gray, but we've been able to put that aside the last couple of years. Why? Because we've seen the landscape of the hobby change. We've seen this guy, Michael Rubin, come along and essentially, trying to essentially wipe out the business. So any kind of beef with Brian Gray is very minimal and very minuscule to what Michael Rubin is doing, and potentially the beef that Brian Gray could have with Michael Rubin. Now, I'm sure publicly Brian Gray is going to say nice things about Fanatics. He's going to say nice things about Michael Rubin, and maybe there have been discussions there about their business. But Michael Rubin could ruin Brian Gray's life in a lot of ways by signing athletes to exclusives, by tying Brian Gray up in lawsuits, whether they're frivolous or not. Michael Rubin could ruin Brian Gray's life. And as soon as Fanatics came in and started gobbling things up, I think we both, to be perfectly honest, we're in the Real Talk Hour. I'm sure we had a conversation, me and you, at one point, and we're like, dude, there's no point in this beef with Brian Gray because
he's got bigger things.
He's got bigger issues on the table. And it could be what this could be setting up is a tremendous content where Sports Card Radio goes after Fanatics and goes after the monopoly in the room and goes after the largest elephant and tries to shoot down the biggest bully in the room. I could see a scenario over the course of the next couple of years where we pound this company hard and be very, very critical of everything they do, because there's not going to be a lot of people willing or that can do that. And I think that could make for very compelling content, to be one of the only voices in the room slamming this monopoly that is going on and kind of slamming their business decisions or anything, that there is to be critical about Fanatics and the products they come out with and the business decisions they make. So yeah, we'll set up with BG. It's fun watching him at a card show. He usually brings a ton of money. And where's the Ken Golden and the 3K donation? Hey, Ken Golden, he was on our show, and like he said, he only lives on 4.2 acres instead of 5. So he's got to get that 0.8 before anything happens. I think Fanatics would sue your ass if this is no. This is the type of thinking that gets people to say nothing in this hobby because everybody's scared. Oh, Michael Rubin's going to sue Sports Card Radio. No, he's not.
Be the greatest thing that ever happened.
It would be the greatest thing that ever happened. Please do that. Please send over the lawsuit. Please actually fucking file it. But look, Jeff Wilson was never going to sue us. The midget from Miami, David Gelfman, was never going to sue us. Anybody who has ever threatened to sue Sports Card Radio was never going to do it. Never going to do it. So you got Fanatics going to sue us. No. This is why the hobby media and the coverage in the hobby sucks, because you guys are all scared to death that Michael Rubin's going to sue you. Hell no, he's not going to do that. That would be like the dumbest thing he could ever do. Because one, he wouldn't win that lawsuit. And two, it would cause him years of us being up his ass and being up, and every single mistake that Fanatics makes, and there will be plenty of them, we will be here just pounding them into the ground. Suing us would be the biggest mistake of his life because he wouldn't win. So no. And this is the problem with this hobby. You guys are all terrified to say something because you think you're going to end up in court. You're not. You're not. Here we are on May 25th. Jeff Wilson threatened to sue us the week of Christmas in December of 2022, guys. I know the wheels of justice turn slowly, but does it take 6 months for Jeff Wilson to file a lawsuit if he was really going to file it? I would love the day I got something from Michael Rubin or his lawyer that said he was going to pursue legal action against us. God, it would be like an 8-part documentary on Sports Card Radio. Just day after day, it would be a documentary on Michael Rubin and the businesses that are going on over at Fanatics. So no, that's not going to fucking happen. You kissed Golden's butt when he was on. You two are pathetic. Hey, Ken Golden did a round of media when he went with the Golden Touch. We were actually interviewing somebody else at the time. We remember that we had our lovely Monopoly target card boxes. Maybe we can have Ken back on and we can have a larger discussion about anything you want, Big Deuce. Send me the questions you want to ask Ken Golden. Send me the questions.
I think we asked the most important one that we confirmed. It is 4.2 acres in the beautiful state of New Jersey.
That's right. So if you want something asked again, Golden, let me know. Exposure is exposure in the hobby. I mean, Backyard Breaks blew up with all the bad press they got. Exactly. Backyard Breaks is still probably considered the largest breaker. And they have scandals attached to them. PWCC just got bought by Fanatics. You want to talk about scandals?
Yeah.
Here's an article that literally, guys, led to an FBI investigation and PWCC getting kicked off eBay. I wrote this article before the FBI investigation and before PWCC got kicked off eBay. So I could pull up the stats on our website. Yes, the FBI has been on our website. Yes, eBay has been on our website. So it doesn't matter how scandalous, a company is, or how scandalous a company, has been. They can find success in this industry. My guess is PWCC gets a name change. It gets rolled up into something like a Fanatics marketplace. And in a couple of years, people are going to be like, hey, what was PWCC? I need an SCR shirt. Jason. Yeah, we should do that. I think we can design some things on Amazon that people can order and then they can get it in a couple days. And so, yeah, maybe before the National, maybe we should make some shirts and
for a cause or something. Let's try to raise some money for somebody. I don't want to make money on shirts, but we can certainly make them. And
guys, you don't get sued because they can't prove damage. Well, what they're trying to sue us for is very,
I mean, again, difficult. Michael Rubin follows me on Twitter. He doesn't follow a lot of people. And oftentimes, sometimes people respect you because you actually are one of the few people in their circle that can tell them no, that can tell them they are wrong. Especially the more money and you get, the more hanger-ons you get around you. People that are just yes men and yes women around you because you have so much money. If you then can express to these people like, whoa, dude, you know, maybe you should think about this. Here's another perspective. That is how you get the respect of a billionaire. You don't get the respect of a billionaire just telling them what everybody else around them tells them. You actually enlighten them. Okay. Like this is not, you know, again.
Yeah. Everybody's going to be in the business of kissing Michael Rubin's ass and kissing Fanatics ass. I mean, we've already seen it. I mean, everybody's going to be kissing up to this guy.
And
so
look, from a business perspective, there are some things to like. I have followed this guy's career for over 20 years. Okay. So from a businessman's perspective, there are some things I like. Doesn't mean he's not going to be perfect in the company itself. And he's not behind there pulling the strings. Okay. He's learning this business too, as he goes along, which is fine.
NASCAR Radio, one of our buddies who I met at the National actually many years ago when nobody used to go. Are you going to the National? And he actually invited me. This is when I saw the Hall of Fame induction for Logan Ward. And so, are you going to the National? Buddy, unfortunately not. It's just too crowded. It's too much for me to deal with. I remember going and me and you could sit at a table and there'd be nobody around and we could sit there and talk for like 20, 30 minutes. And it was just a different experience back when I went to the National. And now I'd actually rather, you know what? I'd actually rather pull up the live stream and me and Colin go live and just crap talk whatever's going on at the main stage, or if a breaker's doing a break, we could have it on. And I think we could actually sit here and kind of cover the National better than if I was there sweating my butt off in Chicago and probably not even wanting to be there. I probably would go to the card show for like 30 minutes and be like, dude, I'm getting out of here. I want to go get some pizza. I want to go. The Cubs are playing, or, you know, what Pearl Jam's playing or something. I'm getting out of here. So it's like, unfortunately not. Our National is now the Burbank Card Show. That's right.
We'll go to that. I might have a commitment. I don't exactly know the dates, and I don't know if we'll have commitments or not. But if I'm not committed to something, I'll go to that.
Okay, their website's down, but
I'm staying in Malibu, but yeah, I'm going to that for a day.
This is
I'm not going to be there for 3 days.
August 31st through September 3rd of this year, Anaheim Convention Center. This is
probably
where like the largest.
Probably even if I have a commitment, I can probably make that work.
Yeah, so well worth going to, anybody in Southern California. And, you know, Disneyland's right next door. So, you know, you could bring the family, you could throw them over at Disneyland, and you could spend the whole day at this card show. I think there's 800 plus dealers. I mean, it should be, you know, maybe the best card show in California since the National was here in the 90s. So
yeah,
it's pretty exciting. So yeah, if we can swing that. What do we got? We got any more action? We got anything else to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, this is an hour 50. We won a Kobe Bryant exquisite auto. I wouldn't show it. We paid a lot. I paid up for it. They don't come up for auction very often. So I bought that. That'll be in the safe. And yeah, things are good. It wasn't that one. It was exquisite. But I paid
this John Morant.
Hey, I mean, I think I told this to you privately. Why doesn't the freaking Memphis Grizzly hire one or two dudes, armed dudes, like dudes that are legit, G's, give them the piece, okay? Let them roll around with Ja. They don't have to be squares or like, you know, Secret Service. They can be kind of like, you know, Thug Life or whatever. Just get you know, I mean, and I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm pro this guy exercising that right. But if you're the Memphis Grizzlies, it sure is causing a lot of problems. So maybe you pay somebody else to do it for him, to make him feel a little bit more secure to where he doesn't feel like he needs to do this. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And to be honest with you, the first time I really got to see him play was against the Lakers, a couple of weeks ago. He's a fantastic player. He's going to lose his athletic ability. And so he's going to remind us, I think, a little bit of Luka, where, he's fantastic. And then you start losing your athletic ability and you realize, he's good, but he's not, he's not a world beater. And so he's a good player, but if I was the Memphis Grizzlies, I'd find me 2 G's with a clean record and strap them up and have them, in the back of the G-Wagon anytime John Morant's there. And maybe we turn off the Instagram Live. I'm not here to tell people how to live their life. I'm not here to certainly tell that to John Morant. He's old enough to make his own decisions. But if he was my employee and I was paying him tens of millions of dollars to play basketball, Nike too. Why doesn't Nike do something? So, look, hope he'll be it's not like he's done some questionable things, but we've seen worse in the sports world. So I still, I think he's okay. I think he'll be fine. His card values, though, probably.
I think we also forget about how young these guys are. And, they get thrust in the spotlight and a lot gets kind of thrust onto them. And it's like, dude, this dude's probably, I don't know how, he's like probably literally like 22 years old, 23 years old. And it's like, I wouldn't have been on Instagram Live with a gun at 22, but I probably would have been doing some really, really, really dumb things. I mean, I'm almost 42 and I'm doing some really dumb things. So it's like, it's tough. It's tough. But to all the people that, borrowed money from PWCC to buy his sports cards, I mean, you're feeling the pain now. Oof. You could have went over Colton Cowser 3,000. 3,600. Ladies and gentlemen, if you stayed with us for 1 hour and 50 minutes, we have breaking news into the program. Colton Cowser, currently in AAA, Red Wave, 3 of 5, autograph. First Bowman card, guys, just sold for $3,630 after buyer's premium. The reason why I'm mentioning this, because I myself have 3 Colton Cowser autographs that I think I paid a cool $900 for. So thank you for the 30-second pump that you allowed me to do on Mr. Colton Cowser, who's sitting 331 in AAA. I believe he's hurt right now, so he might a couple more days off. But a left-handed hitter for the Baltimore Orioles organization, former first-round pick, number 5 overall, $3,600. So this gives me hope that the $300 each I paid for some of his autographs.
It'll work out.
Maybe not. Maybe it might work out. So I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm feeling pretty good if I had enough money to buy this Tiger Woods shirt for $34,000. Match used 2003 PGA Championship. I don't believe that's the one we went to, but
no, ours was 99.
This is basically, this is essentially Tiger Woods prime right here. It is not the prime for PWCC. It is not the prime for Investicard. We are going to have to do some more investigation. What happened to Mr. Investicard? His 13,000 square foot office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is currently available for rent. Where are the cards that he owns? Where are that he has loaned out for money? Where are those cards? I think if I was an owner of one of those cards, I'd be, I'd send at least an email. I would check in, be like, hey guys, look like the office is empty. So you might want to check in. I do not anticipate Michael Rubin in bailing out Investicard. That would be a shocker. That would be a hobby shocker. Michael Rubin might pay us $10 million before he buys Investicard. That would be my guess. Anything else you'd like to address?
No. 2 hours chat that hung with us the whole time. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for everybody with the super chats. I will be totaling that up and I will do the donation to B-Side to hopefully get him closer to his goal. It looks like he's trying to move, and he needs a ramp for his wheelchair. B-side is the artist that penned the Ruin the Hobby I Love song that we'll play here in a moment. Super producer Tim in the background. Thank you very much. You officially now have 5% shadow equity into the Sports Card Radio enterprise, which is currently valued at a number very close to 0. But if we do ever sell our entity, you will collect a cool 5% of that. Michael Rubin. There is somebody from the Rubin family that I would love to slide in their DMs, but maybe I'll make it Michael and ask for a buyout at some point. Betsy,
call me. Betsy, I've heard. Hey, some things haven't gone well for you lately. Your boy Brent let you down. Your boy Brent has let you down, Betsy, in a lot of different ways. And I just want to let you know that, first of all, I'm here for you. Second of all, I didn't happen to notice, Betsy, that you used to actually work at the San Francisco International Airport. That is actually not too far from where I currently reside. So, Miss Higgins, like I said, Mr. Brent let you down in a lot of ways. I guarantee if you came over to the Sports Card Radio side of the tracks, I wouldn't let you down at all. We got one more super chat. You dip $1.99. I'm all for the Bulls, baby.
Yeah,
that's right. Chicago Bulls looking to get back on top. I assume that's who he's talking about. Anything else left before I slide into Betsy's DMs?
I think that's about it. Folks, thanks for tuning in this week. We will be back some other time, some other place. I'll be making this donation to B-Side, and I will post confirmation of that. Not that you guys don't trust us, but when you're from Stockton, you don't trust anybody. Hopefully, you guys have a wonderful day out there. We'll see you again soon. But for now, we are out of here.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on cost stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay. He's getting money. Even better, tax-free. Loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on cost stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit.